We talk a lot about wanting to live a good life, right? But have you ever really stopped and asked yourself what good actually means? I mean, if we can't even define it, how are we supposed to build one?
So, to explore this, we're not going to crack open some dusty old textbook. Nope. Instead, we're going to put you right in the driver's seat of a truly impossible choice. Okay? You ready? Let's dive in. We're going to start with a classic thought experiment, one you might have heard of before. It's called the trolley problem, and it's famous for a reason. It's specifically designed to take our moral intuitions and just push them to the absolute breaking point. Okay, so picture this. You hear the screeching of wheels on metal. A runaway train's brakes have completely failed. It's hurtling down the track towards 5 workers who are totally unaware. They will not survive. But you just happen to be standing next to a lever. If you pull it, you can divert the train onto a different track. The only problem is there's one worker on that track. You have only seconds to decide. So what do? Do you pull the lever? You save 5 people, but you become actively responsible for the death of 1 person. Or do you do nothing and just let 5 people die? Yeah, there is no easy answer here, is there? Now, what's so fascinating about this dilemma is that it perfectly unpacks the 2 major ways humans have tried to solve tough ethical problems for centuries. Let's break those down. On one hand, you have a framework called utilitarianism. You can think of it like a moral calculator. It only cares about the outcome, the greatest good for the greatest number. 5 lives saved versus 1? Well, the math is pretty clear. Pull the lever. But then, on the other hand, you've got deontology. This is more like a moral rulebook. It focuses on the action itself, not the consequences. If you believe in a universal rule like do not kill, then pulling that lever is forbidden, no matter what the outcome is. So, these 2 systems seem pretty clean and logical, right? You just follow the math, or you follow the rule. But here's the thing about us humans. Our morality isn't an equation. It's messy. And this is where we find what you might call a human glitch. Let's see what happens when we change the scenario just a little bit. Okay, the setup is the same. A runaway train is coming. 5 workers are on the track ahead. But this time, you're not standing next to a lever. You're on a bridge, looking down over the whole scene. And standing right next to you is a very large stranger. And for the sake of the experiment, let's say you know with absolute certainty that if you push him off the bridge, his body is large enough to stop the train. He will die, but the 5 workers will be saved. So, would you push him? Now, think about it. The math is identical. 1 life is sacrificed to save 5. From a purely utilitarian point of view, nothing has changed. But I'm willing to bet that for almost everyone listening, your answer just changed. Why? It's because the feeling is completely different, isn't it? Pulling a lever is indirect, it's almost mechanical, but pushing someone with your own hands, that's personal, it's direct, it's violent. That hesitation, that gut reaction that screams no way, that's the human glitch. It shows our moral decisions aren't just logic. They're all tangled up with emotion and a very deep, very real aversion to getting our own hands dirty. And to really mess with the logic, let's go back to the first scenario with the lever. What if that 1 person on the sidetrack was your mother or your child? Does that greatest good for the greatest numbers still hold up? Or do things like love and loyalty just completely shatter the equation? The fact that these simple formulas break down so easily tells us that being good is so much more nuanced than that. Feelings, your character, the context, it all matters. And that suggests we need to look for a deeper kind of wisdom. And this brings us to a different approach, virtue ethics. It completely shifts the question. Instead of asking, what's the right action, it asks, what would a wise and virtuous person do here? The idea is that morality isn't a rule book you follow, it's a skill you develop. It's the wisdom to make the best call you can in messy real-world situations. Then there's another framework, the ethics of care, which does something I think is just brilliant. It challenges the problem itself. It basically refuses to accept the limited choices of A or B, and instead asks about the context, the relationships, and all the things that this abstract problem leaves out. And this line of thinking leads us to maybe the most powerful insight of this entire exercise. We've been so focused on choosing between 2 terrible options that we've completely missed the most important question of all. What if the test isn't about which choice you make? What if the real moral failure is just accepting that these are the only two choices you have.
Exactly. This brings us to the crucial point. The real question isn't save one or five, it's why were five people working on a live track without a better safety system? Why did the train's brakes fail to begin with? See, sometimes the most ethical thing to do is to reject the flawed choices you're given and question the system that created the disaster.
So you see, the goal here was never to find the right answer. The trolley problem is really a mirror. It's a tool that's designed to show us the different lenses we all use to think about morality: logic, emotion, principles, care, and to see where each of them has its limits. And to really drive this home, let's look at one final, bizarre scenario. Your friend is making you dinner. While he's cutting vegetables, he mentions that the knife he's using is the one a burglar used to murder his father, right there in that kitchen. He kept it to save money, which he donates to charity.
Now, logically, what's wrong with that? The knife is clean, he's saving money for a good cause. But I bet your intuition is screaming that this is profoundly, deeply wrong. And this proves that our moral judgments just can't be separated from our human feelings about what is right and, well, what's appropriate.
So what you should really take away from all this is that goodness isn't a single universal formula. It's a messy, complex, and beautiful blend of our logic, our emotions, and our character. It's about having the wisdom to consider the full human context, and most importantly, having the courage to question the very problems we're told we have to solve. And really, that's the heart of it. Living a good life isn't about having all the right answers memorized. It's about getting better and better at asking the right questions. The deeper, more compassionate questions, that's the real skill. So I'll leave you with this to think about. In your own life, when you face those difficult choices, what guides you more? The cold, hard logic of your head, or the complex, messy, but deeply human wisdom of your heart?